On one of my frequent trips to the eShop, a new game caught my attention. It was called FoxyLand. It's a 2D platformer where you can play as a fox, and it's only a £5. Oh, I'm definitely in there, because you know what, foxes are cool, and where else on the Switch can you play as one? Yeah, except for New Super Lucky's Tale, of course, and Fox and Forest, yeah, that looks pretty good as well. But the first tree, yes, Sophie played that. It was very emotional, and yeah, I suppose there's Tails in Sonic Mania as well, and oh yeah, Fox is in Smash Brothers, isn't he? You can do that, and obviously there's the Super Nintendo Star Fox on there too. Okay, I get it. There are a lot of games where you can play as foxes, but none of their lands are described as foxy, so there. FoxyLand starts up with a cutscene that tells you the whole plot very simply. This fox, named Foxy, is hanging out with his girlfriend Jenny, when this vulture appears and kidnaps her. You then set off to rescue her. It reminds me of the opening to Double Dragon. Simple and to the point, how a game of this kind should be. That's the plot out of the way. Let's move on to the game itself. You navigate your way through 36 levels, but it isn't as simple as just reaching the end. There are purple gems scattered around the level, and you have to collect all of them before you can complete it. Why you have to collect the gems before you can enter the house at the end isn't clear. Wouldn't keys make more sense? Although, in that opening cutscene, the vulture seems to poo them out, so in the context of this game world, are we collecting vulture droppings? That makes even less sense. Those gems aren't the only collectibles in this game. There are also cherries. These have two purposes. Firstly, each level will give you a star rating at the end, earning 3 stars if you collect all of the cherries. The total number of cherries you have collected gets saved up, and you can use them to purchase costumes from the shop on the menu screen. Annoyingly, the shop doesn't tell you which costumes you're buying until you've already bought it. Although the game clearly tells you how many gems you need to finish a level, it doesn't tell you how many cherries are needed to get the 3-star rating until you've finished the level. Collecting the cherries isn't much of an issue though, because although you need to collect every single cherry that's out in the open to get the right number to get the 3 stars, when you kill an enemy, they drop some extra cherries, so you'll usually collect a lot more than what is required. You have 3 hit points, losing a heart each time you get hit, unless you get crushed, which is an instant death. But when you get hit, you also lose some cherries, which can be picked up again Sonic style. This does add to the challenge when you are going for the 3-star rating though. The game controls very simply. D-pad to move, B button to jump, and you can also double jump. There are no other moves in the game, so it is very accessible that anyone can pick up and play, and the level designs do complement these simple controls. The levels themselves are short for the most part, and most of them feature puzzle elements. The most common elements you'll find are switches, which will change something in the level, such as making a block move or platforms appear, so you can obtain some previously inaccessible gems. I do like that the game doesn't show you what changes have happened after you've hit a switch, so it's up to you to explore backwards to work it out yourself. The switches are a nice mechanic, and there are a few levels that use them in quite a clever way, involving using multiple switches to hit in the right order, but for the most part they are quite simple. There are some other features such as spike walls that chase you in a couple of levels to shake things up a bit, but there isn't anything too taxing. There are 3 types of enemies you'll encounter. Frogs, these blue rodent things, I'm not quite sure what they're meant to be, and there are also vultures, all of which are defeated by a simple bounce on the head. It is disappointing that the vulture that kidnaps Jenny at the beginning just shows up as a regular enemy throughout the game. I'm not going to show the ending, although there's not much to spoil, but the game does not have a final boss, which does feel anticlimactic that it was just a regular enemy that kidnaps Jenny. It is cool that you can hide behind bushes when enemies are around though. As I said, There are 36 levels in the main game, plus there are 3 bonus levels that are Halloween themed. These 3 are available right at the beginning of the game, and the third of which has the only boss fight in the whole game. Graphically, the game goes for a pixel art style, which looks nice. Everything is clear and colourful, although disappointingly, all 36 levels have the same background, which does look nice, but it does make them less memorable when trying to distinguish one level from another. At least the Halloween themed levels look a bit different. The best animation in this game is when you die. The music uses a chiptune soundtrack, with sound effects that wouldn't be out of place in an NES game. It sounds nice and matches the style of game, although it isn't anything memorable, and you wouldn't be missing much if you fancied listening to something else while playing. The game costs £4.99, €4.99 or $4.99, which is a very low price, but is it worth it? The main thing I should probably address is the length and the challenge. I found this game to be incredibly easy. For context, I completed all 39 levels this game has to offer, and my total recording time was 1 hour, 4 minutes and 26 seconds. If I was not constantly retrying levels in order to get the 3-star rankings, then I would have completed it quicker. That's not to say the game doesn't have challenging levels, as there are plenty in there that I died on multiple times, some of them from beginners' traps that you won't see coming the first time round, and the really fast loading times are a blessing in these levels. But as I said earlier, the main challenge comes from getting those 3-star ratings, and from what I could see afterwards, there was no real reason to do so. The game's difficulty curve is more like a difficulty roller coaster, as the game seems to get progressively harder, and I'll encounter a level that I die on multiple times, but then after that I would have 3 or 4 levels that I'll beat first time with no problem before getting to another one that I have trouble with, which does make it lose a feeling of progression as you're going through the more difficult levels of the game, only to then encounter easier ones that would have felt more in place towards the beginning of the game. You can still go back and play previously beaten levels to gather more cherries to buy everything in the store, but that could be a long grind seeing how highly priced a few items are, and again, it is a shame that you can't see what you're buying to see if it's worth doing it. So if you are a veteran of 2D platformers, you may not see much value in this game, and that £5 might be put to better use towards another game. But if you are new to platformers, or you want to buy a cheap game for your child to get into the genre, then you can certainly do a lot worse. The levels themselves are short but well designed, it controls really well, and I did have a good time with this game despite how short it was, and it would have been nice to have a bit more challenge to it. So cheap as it is, I'd find it easier to recommend it when it goes on a sale. Thank you for watching this review. If you've taken notice of this game but wasn't sure whether it was for you, then hopefully my words have helped you to make your mind up. If you liked this video, make sure you give us a like, we'd very much appreciate it, and let us know in the comments down below if this is a game that appeals to you. And if you want to see more from us in the future, hit that subscribe button. Thank you again for watching everyone, goodbye.